It turns out the joke was on us because this movie sucks. But apparently, this movie also upset Jared Leto, so I guess it did do one good thing. Oh, by the way, did you guys know that we live in a society? Who knew? To say that Joker is a controversial film would be an understatement, the least of which being the director making a complete ass out of himself in the press and on social media by saying stupid things like woke culture has ruined comedy and convincing Joaquin Phoenix to do the movie by saying, hey, let's sneak a real movie into the studio system under the guise of a comic book movie. We'll call it Joker. The biggest problem with Joker is that it is really not about anything. It is so poorly and thinly written that it is a miracle that Joaquin Phoenix manages to be as good as he is. He is the only thing that holds this movie together, and somehow Arthur Fleck feels like a consistent character considering that there's really not that much on the page for Phoenix to work with. Joker seems to just be a series of scenes and ideas pulled from other movies and comic books that are just there to remind you of other movies and comic books, like Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy being the most obvious, because the whole movie feels like Todd Phillips basically saying, please notice me, Senpai Scorsese. It is such a weird film. The one thing I can say about this movie, though, is that the cinematography is good, the score is good, and the production design is absolutely fantastic. Gotham looks disgusting. It is grimy, and it truly looks like an awful place to live. But the idea of this movie was something that actually excited me, which only made it all the more upsetting when it turned out to be a complete disappointment. Not only is Joker a disappointment, it is just flat out bad because this movie has an overinflated sense of self-importance. When it was in the film festival circuit, all you heard was awards chatter, Joaquin for Best Actor, maybe a Best Picture nomination. And then I've actually watched the movie and I'm just left thinking, why was this movie made other than to remind us of Taxi Driver? Because there is really no cohesion to Joker's narrative or thematic structure. For all of the hype about this movie and this movie's supposed commentary about the social and political unrest in Gotham and the themes of mental health, it amounts to nothing. It amounts to absolutely nothing. The themes are just set dressing. It goes absolutely nowhere. Joker is a movie with absolutely nothing to say, yet won't shut up. It is very frustrating. There is very little in this movie that actually has any substance. I will say it was interesting that this movie was willing to take the risk and portray Thomas Wayne as kind of an arrogant, only I can fix it because I'm rich guy, rather than the benevolent philanthropist we're used to seeing. But other than that, Joker really just doesn't do anything new. The idea of sort of doing these one-shot sort of Elseworld projects with DC properties to give filmmakers a vessel to say something greater with these very popular characters was an idea that I was very excited for, and ultimately it proved to go nowhere, at least with this movie, because Joker only exists, like I said, to remind you of other better movies. Now, and the thing is, there's really not even much to be angry about with this movie. The concern about releasing a movie about a troubled white man who feels let down and rejected by society, so he decides to get back at them. Yes, that was a valid concern, but I'm not even sure that this movie warrants that sort of concern or even aggression, because there's just nothing to this movie actually, and it's really, really frustrating. If anything, I would say the most dangerous thing about Joker is that it perpetuates the complete falsehood that mental illness leads to violence. That is not true. As someone who struggles with mental health issues, I have never once been violent, much less aggressive towards anybody else. But this movie seems to take that trajectory, and if anything, that's the most harmful thing this movie does. The only good thing about this movie is Joaquin Phoenix, and it is technically well made, like I said, at least from a, cinematography, production design, and musical composition perspective. Otherwise, not that great. Todd Phillips' direction, kind of boring. It's just a collection of scenes. There's nothing really here that holds us together except for Phoenix's performance, and it is kind of remarkable that Phoenix manages to make Arthur Fleck feel like a character at all. The Robert De Niro cameo was cool considering he decided to actually show up and act. This isn't a dirty grandpa case, thank God. But other than that, I gotta say, guys, hard pass on Joker. Not worth your time. Bye. If you want to tell me I'm wrong, feel free to do so in the comments, but you know what? I feel pretty strongly about this one, and I wanted this to be good, so that's why I'm upset. Thank you for watching.